Kumlan Rablat Gemara. This is Tuesday's Daf of Samach Hey, and this is coming from the shul here in Hong Kong. The Gemara, we are up to the Mishnah. The last thing we learned was Abaye's Kiddush. I think it was a little bit vague, but Abaye basically said is this argument between Tanoim. When you were vague and you said the older daughter or the younger daughter, whether it meant the oldest or the youngest, which is Rabbi Yossi, or whether a mayor says older means anybody who's older than the youngest, and younger means anybody who's younger than the oldest. So the only one that's not in doubt is the oldest. So Abaye comes along and says that this whole argument is only when there were two different families, two wives and two sets of families. But if there's one set of family, then older means oldest, and younger means youngest. And for the middle ones, you definitely would have given them a name. The middle one can either be, younger than older, older than younger, so it's not here, not there. So therefore, you would have given them a name. Says the Mishnah. If a man says to a woman, I got engaged to you. Kiddashtich, I gave you an engagement. I met her, she denies it. Like it never happened. So what happens? So for him, it's Shavir Nafshi Chaticha Desur. He's saying that he is married to her, even though he's allowed to marry other women. But what comes into play now is he cannot marry the sister Lamashal or her immediate relatives of this woman. So who also bekreva seha? He's allowed to marry her relatives, but he muteres bekreva. But she can marry any of his relatives because she denies it, and therefore his saying that his mekudesh does not bind her in any way. Case number two. I met as Kiddush Tani. She says, you will mekadesh me, which means I cannot live with anybody else but you. But who I like Kiddush Ticha, and he says, never happened. Who mutte bekreva seha, so he's permitted to marry all the relatives, but he asuda bekreva. She is forbidden to marry any of his relatives. Even if he divorces her, he can never marry, marry the relative, the brother of your divorced husband. Okay, case number three. Kiddush Ticha. He says, I got you engaged. I met us. You did get engaged, but not to me. Like Kiddush to Elabiti was my daughter you got engaged to. You're mixing up. What happens now? Same principle. Who, whatever he said, he has to follow, has to abide by him because he made it as Chaticha de Isur. Therefore, who also bekravas? He is forbidden with the relative of the mother because he claims that he married her or got engaged to her. But she, the mother, is permitted to marry all of his relatives because she denies it. But he can marry the relatives of the younger one because he never said he married her. But she is not bound by any of this, and therefore she can marry all the relatives of this man. Case number four. Kidashti is I married your daughter. She said, you married me. Who also bekrevik Tana? He is forbidden with the relatives of the daughter. But she's permitted to marry his relatives. Who mutter bekrevik Gedayla sort of bekrevik. He permitted to marry the relative of the older one, but the older one is forbidden in his relatives because she says it was me that you married. Now the principle is exactly the same in all four cases. So it's obvious the Gemara is going to ask, why do we need four cases? There must be a chiddush in each one. Or most of them at least. Says the Gemara. First of all, in all these cases, the principle is the same. If he ties something and there's no evidence, he has to follow by that, but not the other person is not bound by what he claims. If we only knew the case that he claimed that he married her, we don't really trust him, and therefore she's a free woman. Why? Because what does he care? He says he married her. Okay, he's still allowed to marry as many more women as he wants. The only thing is that he cannot marry a few individuals, the sister or the mother of this woman or daughter, whatever it is. So he doesn't really care. He says he doesn't really care. It's just casual. If she claims I am married to you, if she doesn't really believe that she married this person, she cannot marry. She's saying I'm married to you, which means she cannot marry anybody else. She's really hampering her life style. So why did she say that? Must be telling the truth. She wouldn't have said it. And therefore, not only does she have to abide by it, but maybe he should be bound by it as well, that he cannot marry her relatives because there's some credence to what she's saying. That he is not bound at all by what she claims. What do we need this case for? Talking about the daughter, but the principle is the same. Whatever he decides is also he has to treat it that way, and the other person is not bound by it. So the Gemara, Lama, Itzich Anid. Salkatar, I mean, I would have thought. Midaraisa hem the Rabban La'at. Ma'atayda, when a man says it's beating the Satilisha, we believe him. So maybe Midarabana and hem Nula Dida. Maybe Midarabana believe her. And we mentioned a few days ago that the Rishonim say, Taka, some of the Rishonim say, that just like we say a father's believed to say, Beniza, Ben Yugimel Shana, Bas is Bas Yibeshon, and the mothers also believed. So maybe we carry it over as well when it comes to getting married. That's so we would have thought that the mother says, no, you married to my daughter, maybe we charge, and therefore the daughter should be bound by that as well. It could be the Buddha Kamashla, that no, the mother has no say. Only the Torah says as Biti Nasati, only the father. Last case, Kidashti as Bitcha Hosulamli. What's the Chiddush here when he says I married your daughter, she says no, it was me. You're right. There is no Chiddush. I did a Tanah. Once the Mishnah goes through all these cases, it also adds this one as well. Itma, we learned, Rav said, Kaifin, we force the man to give her a get. We beg, we plead to give a get. What are they arguing? Which case in the Mishnah they're arguing in? Are we talking about the very first case of the Mishnah, which is that what the man says, I got you engaged, and she said, no, you didn't. If she says it never happened, she doesn't want to get, because the moment you give her a get, she can no longer marry the guy's brother. Why should she suffer because he comes up with some kind of a story? Why she's not interested in a get? It hurts her. Ella a sefer. It must be talking about the sefer. It must be talking about the next case where she's the one who says that we are engaged. Is bishleim mevakshin l'chayim. Well, I understand. You ask if look, she claims that she's married to you. She's stuck now. To her a teva and give her a get. And look, Amai, why in the world would you force him? And you're forcing him to give a get. What happens is he can no longer marry her sister. What happens if she wants to marry this person's sister? Why should he? Because she claims that she married him and he says it's not true, and now you want him to give her a get, and then he can no longer marry her sister? Why? It's not fair. Amai, he says, I don't be also in her relatives. There's a mistake here. Actually, they are both Rav and Shmuel not arguing. One is adding, Rav is adding to what Shmuel said. Shmuel said, look, she said that she's also do a favor and give her a get. You don't have to, but do her a favor and give her a get so she'll be free. We can't force you because maybe you want to marry his sister. Okay, but do her a favor. Comes along and Rav says, if he voluntarily, without us even asking him, coaxing him, goes and gives her a get, that means he is giving credence to what she says. Then, what's the forcing then? Once you agree, you give her a get on your own volition, then probably it's true what she's saying that you're engaged, and then we force you to give a ksuba. And the Rishonim say from here we see that even almana from an Edison, or even a woman from Edison also receives a ksuba, even though it wasn't written. Because if a ksuba was written, then what's the discussion there? Of course he gave her a get. Why would you write her a ksuba if you didn't give her a Kiddushin? Of course then we believe that he gave a Kiddushin. So he didn't write a ksuba, and yet she collects. We force. So we asked, what you ask? Oh, you force. Which one? We ask him to give a get. If he did on his own volition, we force him to give a get. If a single aid comes along and says that these people are married, this couple is married, it's not even a chash of Kiddushin. Why not? We'll see in a minute. What's the reason why you're saying that Eid Echad is not a valid Kiddushin? Is it because we don't know whether we can believe it or not? By Dover you need two Eidim. If that's the case, what about if the couple are Maida, they're not disagreeing at all, they're Maida, they're married, then it should work? Or is the pshat that in order for the Kiddushin to be chal, to be effective, we need two Eidim? Two Eidim are an integral part of that ceremony of Kiddushin. And if lacking the two Eidim, there's no Kiddushin. Eid Echad, we believe them that they get married, but there's no Kiddushin because they don't have the capacity to create the Kiddushin without the Eidim being there. As we'll see in the Gemara later. Sometimes he said yes, I said no, and he wasn't sure. We learned about one age in our Kiddushin name, even though both Moide. And it says, who Elisha, it says now says to woman, Kidashtich, I got engaged to you. Who also bekrayva, so he's forbidden to live with any of her relatives. And what's going on here? If they were Adim that they got engaged, what's to talk about that? Of course they're married. And why is she permitted his relatives? Even after she sees a get, she can no longer live in the relatives because they're the sisters, they're the brothers of her ex-husband. Navas the lek Adim. If there's no Adim there, then why? And he said we got married. So what if he got married? But there's no Adim. Am I also Elalab must be be'ed echad. Is that I've made? We don't need two Adim to make it happen. Even a single Aid is enough to make it happen. So it sounds like you still need some kind of an Aedis, but since an Eid Echad has capacity as well to Machayev Ashura, so because Eid Echad has certain strength, an Eid Echad is sufficient to help create that Kiddushin that we need. Because if you don't, if it's only a question of whether this happened or not, then why have an Eid Echad at all? A couple comes along and we're married, that's enough. The fact that we're assuming there's an Eid Echad tells us that you still need something here to help to materialize the Kiddushin. My skin, as Gemara says, no. He says, I got him married to you, and there were two Adim there. The problem is they're no longer here. But there were two Adim there. So no Raya, no Kasha. Eisha, that's another question. It says in the end of Gittin Amagadas, somebody divorced his wife, and then after the divorce, they spent together in a hotel in different rooms. Shammai says, Shammai says, no, we don't think that anything really happened untoward. You don't need a second get. Basil says, get training. You do require a second get. In other words, we assume they got married again. Now, where the Adim? What's going on here? Hey, Chadam, they were Adim, they got engaged again. No, so how can Bishamai argue? My time to Bishamai. No, boss, we don't like Adim. No Adim. No, my time to Basil. So why Basil say you need to get? No Adim. Who cares of them together? But there's no Kedushin. There must have been at least a single Aid here. So you want to know the time. That's a question. If you're going to learn this way, tell me the next one. Amos Sefer. That means Garsham in Edison, that if they were only engaged and never really married, they were divorced, then even though they're sitting in the hotel together, they don't need a second get. They're not that intimate with each other, and they're not that cozy with each other. If you tell me if an eight comes along and says, yes, they got engaged, who cares then if they were merely engaged prior or married? So the fact is, an eight saw them living together, or they got engaged. I'll tell you what happened. An eight is not effective in the two Eidim. And we're talking about over here, they were Eid Yichud, or Eidim saw them go to the room together. But there were no Eidim that saw them actually consummate that. Shammai says, we don't say, we don't say hein Eida Yichud hein Eida Beer. According to Shammai, no Eidim here. Therefore, they're engaged. We do say hein Eida Yichud Beer. If they were intimate before they were married and now they're together in the same room, we can assume that they were together. The Eida Yichud are the Eida Beer. So we have Eidim here. Therefore, they're engaged. But Basil Moida, the Vada ben Garsha, Mina Edison, the Loy Amrin hein Eida Yichud Beer. But they were only Gaspa. They're only engaged. We don't say that these are Eidim can actually testify that they were intimate together. That a single age the great Bezin said, "Ain't man who is this great Bezin? Rav. Great Bezin is Rav. You can have the others. Another version is that Amar Rabba Rav. Rabba actually said the name of Rav. The great Bezin said, "Ain't and who is that? Man ben Rabba Rebbe." Mosib Rab Achdebuy asked a question from a very interesting Bryce. This is what happened. Shnayim Shebo Medina Sayam Be'isheman. Three people came from overseas. Nobody knows them. Pretty strangers. Two men and one woman. And each and the Chavila. Plus, there's a package worth some money of value. Imahem. And here's an interesting dispute. This man says, Zu Ishti, this woman is my wife. Avdi, and this is my slave. Zu Chavilasi, this is my package. The other man says, no, Zu Ishti, this is my wife. Avdi, this is my slave. Zu Chavilasi, this is my package. The Isha met us, and she said, Baba Maisis, Elishne Avodai, both of these are my slaves, and the Chavila Shuli, and the package is mine. What do we do here? So as far as the package is concerned, we say, we don't know. As far so each man claims they married her, we make each man give her a get. And because they both give her a get, so that means they both admit that she has a ksuba, so she is entitled to take a chelik of the thing equal to her ksuba, even though she said that she wasn't married. But as far as she's concerned, she owns the whole package, so she's entitled definitely to a third. So therefore, she takes a third, which is equal to the ksuba, and the goyim wasn't a chavila, but she gets two gittin from these people. Now let's analyze what happened there. And the rest of the package, you leave it till Elio comes. Each one has two witnesses. Each one's claiming marriage. You tell me the only way a marriage is effective, there are two witnesses. So each one has two witnesses. How could she come along and say, no, they're both my slaves? Each one has two witnesses that they're married to her. Even though the two witnesses contradict each other, but definitely they're not her slave. And the package is how could she say in the package is mine? We're talking about here a single aid. And she is maktish the aid, she's contradicting the aid. Now Batizma. Aid and why would you be believed at all? First of all, there's one aid contradicting the other aid. You're telling them that you need gittin, but each one has an aid that they're married, but the other aid is contradicting them, so they cancel each other out. Plus, furthermore, even if you didn't have an aid against them, she's contradicting the aid echad. She can contradict an aid echad. So what's going on here? And why are we giving any value, any credence to this aid echad that we're making them give gittin? The reason why we're giving gittin, not because they're bound. They're not bound at all. But she is claiming, if it was what, is Lemisha La'alma, we want to make a mutter to the whole world. Yeah. So and why the Kuliyama they pligi the shadi. So there's like this. Lemisha La'alma Kuliyama pligi the shadi. There's no question that she does not need a get to live with the whole world. She says, I never married anybody. In fact, they belong to me, the Mayavadi. Each one who says that you married me has an aid echad who contradicts their echad. Plus, she's contradicting aid echad. You would know two aidim, otherwise not to talk about. It'll be holding them. Why should she get anything? Why should she even be able to claim that they're my slave? So therefore, we're talking about there's no two aidim, there's a single aid, and they're worthless, they're valueless. She does not need a get to be able to marry anybody in the world because we don't trust none of us. This is what we are saying here. In order we're now concentrating on this package. This package has a value. We don't know who belongs to. Each one claims it's theirs. So we say, hey, however, tzricha shnei gittin does not mean that they have to give her gittin. We need to gittin to be given on their own volition if she wants to collect her ksuba part of it from chabila. So tzricha doesn't mean we force the men to give. They don't have to give it all. But tzricha, we need in this circumstance, shnei gittin, two gittin to be given, issued from these men on their own volition. Can they leave the ksubas and the chabila, which will entitle her to collect the ksuba from the chabila? Otherwise, she can't. But and this follows a meir, and even then, only the meir holds that metaltin, because the chabila's metaltin is indebted to ksuba. Although according to others, only property, and we don't say that. Saying about it further, my hobby, bottom line, there's no Kiddushin if it's less than two people. And we're still chayshish to Kiddushin. Though it's not really Kiddushin, it's a chash Kiddushin. Why do you say that you need two people? The yalfit dover for money, you need two things. If the person says that he owes the money, it's like 180. In fact, if they didn't contradict him, we say, okay, you owe the money. If the husband and wife come along and say, yes, we are made, we're married, we should believe them. Why don't we believe them? And we learn Hados Baldim when it says, Ki, who's that? So we, made the mixes. We trust the part that he's made it to. So why don't we say the same here? Malay said, Hassam over there, there's a difference. You know why by Kiddushin the two Eidim are not just here to verify a story? Hassam the story, when it comes to commercial matters, it comes to money matters, it's all about you. Do you owe the money? You don't owe the money. But if you admit you owe the money, that's the end of the story. So it does over here, they're affecting the entire world. Nobody else can marry this woman because she's a married woman. So you have to have a koyach. Your koyach is limited to yourself or the people that you're engaged with. But here you're the koyach that you created an issa to the entire world because you're an Eish Ish. You don't have that capacity. You need the two Eidim who are outsiders or not part of this relationship to be able to create an Isa to the rest of the world outside of you two people, of your relationship. So that's why they're instrumental in the Kiddushin, these two Eidim. You're affecting others. Now, interesting, Rashi said, most of the Shainim say you're affecting others is the rest of the world cannot marry her. She's an Ashes Ish. So you're affecting the whole world, the entire world. Rashi seems to say, for whatever reaon, Rashi says, what do you mean? Because she cannot marry now the relatives of her husband in the future forevermore. And he cannot marry her relatives in the future as well. So this is now with divorces, or he cannot marry his sister. That's so Rashi is limiting the chi of lacharini. Other strange that the chi of lacharini is the entire world while she's married. Rashi is limiting the chi of lacharini to only the immediate relatives. Why Rashi says that, I'm not sure. Rashi says through this, her relatives and his relatives. Why does Rashi limit it to that? So Rashi is talking about post-marriage. So I guess what Rashi is saying here is, we're saying b'shas the marriage affecting the whole world. Rashi is saying that's not really called chavla acharini because this is what you want. You want to be with him. The chavla acharini is that even after this relationship is over, the Isser lingers on. Where do you have the koyach to do that? You have a koyach maybe during the relationship to put an Isser on the whole world, but the Isser is indirect because we're together, therefore the rest of the world is us. Then we had a chakir in the beginning of Masechta, are you asking the whole world and therefore you're married to her, or do you, because you're married, you're asking the whole world? So all those are shainim who are saying Chavla Chrini means, that's why you need Eidim, is because you're asking the whole world, because if they learn that Kiddushin means you're asking the world on you, and therefore the husband is the only one that you're shaykh to. And maybe others learn differently. But what Rashi is saying is, where do you see the real koyach here that is beyond the person's capacity is after the relationship is over? Why should the Isa still linger on? That is the koyach of the Eidim. Maybe that's shot. I'm not sure. Taking it further, the children of the children they split in the chas between each other. Also, the case of Ashi, you want to know, do they need Eidim if they make these transactions and dividing the estate? Why need two Eidim? So you shouldn't be able to change your mind. But we're not planning to change our minds. So do we need Eidim here at all? Maybe Taka need Eidim, not just for marriage, but any king. Even the side of the shak. In a normal case, the role of Eidim is to make sure that nobody lies. But you guys obviously not gonna lie. You don't need Eidim. And as Taisa Levain Tam learns from here, that any king you make, you don't need Eidim because the only reason you need Eidim if you don't trust each other, you want Eidim to make sure that they see. Otherwise, you don't need Eidim at all. They have no role. Omar Abai said, now that we mentioned before the role of an Eid Echad, so I'm going to tell you a few things about an Eid Echad, the power of Eid Echad. We know that we're looking about Yebamis, and in the beginning with Gittin, and Yebamis are Peches, and Gittin got based on Beis about the Koyach of Eid Echad, and Eid Echad is believed to be Matzah Sudim and to Asim Tadim, and that is we're looking about Yebamis, that's because Biyadei, or we had places in the beginning of Gittin, because since the Eid Echad is capable of doing whatever it's doing, so therefore you have it has the mana, and you believe in what he's saying. So now the question says, Abai, how far am I going to take Eid Echad? As Abai says, Abai says, Eid Echad, if an Eid Echad said, a Chalte Chelik. The thing is, when it comes to your eight treif and you have to read Karma Chatas, the Torah says, Oy hoida olav. If you became aware on your own, so two Eidim come along and say, if an Eidecha comes along and says that you ate treif fats, and I deny it, or better yet, a Torah says, I said I don't know, then I don't have to read Karma because that's me hoy hoida olav. But if after the Eidecha alerts me to this, I said, yeah, you're right, I took 8 treif fats, then it's as if oy hoida olav, I became aware of it myself, and I have to go and bring Karma Chatas. So it says like this. You didn't say anything. Nema is believed. He's believed. Why? But the Eid Echad, therefore, in a way, is mechayiv you, but because you acquired, it's a tacit agreement. So therefore, it's as if as if you yourself became aware of it on your own. And I'll bring it out. I'll bring it out. One age says the 8 parts in the need pots. If you contradict the Eid you pot it. Sounds like the only reason why you pot it is because you contradict it. Time the Aman loy no. Oh, each thing you're quiet. Mehemen is believed, and you can bring a carbon. It's not considered chulin bazar. It's a carbon. And why? Because it's considered as if it's as if you became aware of it on your own. Um, but when it comes to if two people said you ate shayfa fats and he denies it's a machlek is a meir chacham. The mayor says if two Adim can kill somebody, surely they can make you bring karchatas. The chacham say no, you have a migla. You could have said I ate fat, but made it, and then I wouldn't be bringing karchatas. We'll have that in the later moment. So anyway, right. Another case. This is case number two. Case number one is that the eight of fats bring a carbon to the base of English. Case number two is Abai said an said nit mutar isecha. Your taras became tamei. Allah shaisik, and the other one was quiet. Neman he's believed. But again, because you were quiet, it's a tacit agreement, and therefore the eidech is right, and you have to your taras now are tamei. The taras I'll bring a raya says eidech nitmu your seed became tamei. Allah need not touch it. Or you contradicted eidech. Time you think man you believe. Amar by case number three. A single aid came along to you and said, "Shorcha nirba," that your shor was involved in bestiality, and as a result of that, can no longer be brought up as a carbon on the mizbech. But you don't kill this carbon, this animal, because there were no two edim. Only the two edim do we kill the animal. Because we learn that it has to be commissus bailim, just like the owners don't get killed unless the two edim. If they commit a murder, so too with this animal or by ravia, by bestiality, the same thing here. The halah shaisi was quiet. Nema is believed. The time to prove it to you. But again, an eid echad says it happened. He believed. Now the time to I'll prove it to you, which means what? When you believe, so far you cannot bring it on the mizbech. I'll prove it to you. It says the boy aveda. An aveda happened. If an aveda happened with this animal, shahein bisal pei eid echad, the animal gored somebody, killed someone based on testimony of one aid. Oh yeah, I'll be by them or the owner. Then when the eid echad is believed. Now let's think for a second. What do you mean it's based on a single aid? What did the owner say? Either the owner admits, yes, my animal committed this terrible crime, killed somebody, or another day that happened like bestiality. So what are you decha for? Then Hainu Apia Bailim, it already says Alpia Bailim, that's the same thing. Elalav must be the Shatzik, it was quiet. And therefore he was quiet. We follow the evidence of the Eidach. I said, what are these three cases? Basically, all three of them are saying exactly the same thing. So all you're saying here is that the eidach is believed when the owner is quiet. So what's shot? For the if you say hachamaisa only the first case where you said you ate treva fats, there maybe the reason why we believe that echon is because the guy is quiet, which means he's going to bring a karbachatas. If you bring a karbachatas, basically you don't have to. You're bringing chulin bazar, and we had a whole thing before, whether it's mahatoida or whether chulin bazar is only midrabanan, but definitely it's an aveda. And therefore, according to most, and therefore, why did you admit? Must be that you can't believe that. If you wouldn't really believe the achal that you ate the treva fats, then chulin bazar la'maisi would not have brought chulin into the azara. So therefore we believe they dechad. Avalnit mutar isecha. If the guy claims your tar became tummy, you think you really care? I can eat it when I'm tummy. So why argue with him? So your silence doesn't necessarily mean that you agree. Maybe you know why you're quiet? I can use my tumah. Over here, Mishum, the Kamafsule made Taros. Over there, maybe we believe because it's a loss. I cannot eat it whenever I want. When I'm tired, I cannot eat from it. Okay, so therefore, maybe the fact that it's quiet means that he agrees. That's what happened. Abul Shayre Nilba. What's the problem if a Shayre was accused of bestiality? He can't bring him his bech. Well, most animals are not brought him his bech. Doesn't really care. So his silence doesn't prove that he agrees. Not all cows go on the mizbech. But you need to tell me in all cases we believe that. Have a good day. We continue tomorrow, Mr. Shem.